we are a very local
Right.
event. We're going to have nearly 1 million people in the French Quarter over 4 days, and the vast majority of those folks are based in the New Orleans metro area.
Hi, guys. Thanks for joining us on the Elation podcast today. I'm your host, David Adams. We are in the Dolby Room here at Elation Studios. We're with Emily Madero. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me today.
Absolutely. Great to have you. President and CEO of French Quarter Fest. That's pretty amazing.
It's a pretty fun job.
I bet. I know a lot of people in New Orleans have enjoyed that festival.
Well, we love that. I mean, it's a lot of work. It takes 12 months out of the year to put together, and a pretty dedicated, hardworking team. But it's definitely worth all of that when you come out on Thursday morning and there's just so much joy and community and music.
Absolutely. Always my favorite time in the city.
Yeah.
Always. Well, we're going to talk about a bunch of stuff, but let's just talk about origin a little bit. Where you from, where you grew up, high school, all the New Orleans stuff.
So I did not originate from New Orleans, but I got here as soon as I possibly could.
Gotcha.
I grew up in Maine, and I actually came down to study at Tulane.
Okay.
I thought it would be a super exotic, incredible way to
Go
spend
Green
4
Wave.
years.
Yeah.
Exactly. And then, of course, I never left. So I joined a startup team right after school. Was a part of building a company in the Bywater, and that led me back to business school again at Tulane.
Gotcha.
And that was right in August of 2005.
Oh,
so,
well, what did you originally go to Tulane for?
So I studied Spanish and psychology.
Okay.
And I had a minor in fine art, and I ended up working with a friend who started a wall covering company. So it was hand silk screened wallpaper we produced in the Bywater. He was actually a real estate developer and had tracked down this incredible company that had been making this handmade paper since the 70s.
Wow.
And anyway, he brought it to New Orleans and sort of revamped it, restarted it. Our first client was Lenny Kravitz in the French Quarter.
Wow, there you go.
It was, a great thing to be a part of. But I really loved the sort of hands-on critical thinking, problem solving, puzzle solving aspect of being a part of a startup company. And realized that my psychology and Spanish background, while they were good skill sets to have as a human, probably needed to add some marketable skills.
Hard to make money 100%.
Which is
yes.
what landed me back in business school.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And then, of course, everything was interrupted with Katrina.
Right.
And when I came back, for me, it was never a question. At this point, New Orleans was such a part of
it hits you in the heart.
This is not an easy or obvious choice, I think, for folks, unless you grew up here. And I think if you're going to be here, it's because you absolutely can't imagine being anywhere else.
Absolutely.
And it becomes like a part of the oxygen that you breathe.
Absolutely.
So got back here as soon as I possibly could. My husband had just opened up a jazz club on Rampart Street, and I was in business school, and it just sort of felt like if you were going to be here during that time, you had to invest your time and effort in a positive way.
Yeah.
Bringing it back.
Absolutely.
Exactly. So that was a little bit of a left turn, and then I got involved with lots of different volunteer projects as a student, and did a lot of work with the Idea Village, which was, giving out grants in the French Quarter. They were focused on areas like tourism and the cultural economy that, certainly went through a very long period without the visitorship during that time. And so for about 10 years after Katrina, I was very involved with the Idea Village, ended up as the acting CEO, did a lot of, consulting, program development, nonprofit leadership. We grew New Orleans Entrepreneur Week as, part conference, part community festival.
Right.
And from there, I just ended up having an opportunity to join the French Quarter festival team, and seemed like a great fit because it leveraged all of my skill sets in terms of running a place-based nonprofit organization, really focused on preserving and growing what we love most about New
Right.
Orleans, and doing it in a sector that had a lot of personal passion and interest. I think so many of us live here because of the incredible culture and the food and
Absolutely.
the music. So,
Well, I feel like it's amazing that so much of the culture comes from just a few blocks,
yeah.
and it blew my mind when my grandfather years ago said, there's only about 4,000 people that live in the French Quarter, and it's everybody else that gets to experience it, and New Orleans is such an amazing place to rebuild after Katrina. It had to be done. I mean, there was no thought process in any of us.
Mm-hmm.
It had to be done. How we were going to do it was a whole different
Yeah.
theory. And growing up here, I still don't feel like we got it all back.
Yeah.
But what we never lost was the ability to connect with people, and the ability to make people feel good and make people enjoy the city and feel accepted in any retrospect. And so those natural characteristics that we had just never left.
Absolutely.
And I feel like that's why we were able to kind of rebuild and come back.
Absolutely. I mean, French Quarter Festival, we came back in April, which is pretty quickly
Yep,
after
absolutely.
such an incredible disaster. And I felt, that the organization was committing to doing that because for all of those things that you said, festivals play this cultural role in it's the convening of all of that
Right.
hospitality and culture and connecting with people and coming together. And, they are how we set our calendars. They're how we celebrate the seasons. They're how we come together as communities. And so it felt like not only a really important thing to do for our musicians and our cultural sector, but just a really critical way to start healing and bringing people back to the city.
100%. It's almost like a moment of like, hey, we're still here. Like come enjoy the city, and let the locals tell you how to enjoy it. That was always my thing. Like, because how you get to enjoy the French Quarter during that time is how it should be enjoyed
Mhm.
24/7, if you ask me. It almost makes it Disney World because you get to walk around everywhere without, without any cars. You get to truly walk between different cultures and different music genres, and I just feel like you really get to experience the French Quarter the way it should be experienced.
Yeah, that's right. It felt like that coming out of COVID too.
Right, 100%.
Such a connected
Another
time.
important moment in time that taught us how important live music and live connection is.
Absolutely. And even just, the feeling walking through the crowds of people. I mean, it's a really an incredible thing because we're unticketed,
Right,
we're free. There's, no fence around the French Quarter.
right,
So part of what we do as a nonprofit organization is we want to host events that instill an increased sense of pride in the people that live here.
right,
These are events that celebrate our culture and
right.
they're for the people that live here, right? And if you can build an event that people from New Orleans love and feel ownership and connected to, that's going to be infectious and something that
Absolutely.
other people will want to be a part of. But
Absolutely.
it's, that's what makes it authentic and sticky. And, I think why it's been a cultural institution for far before I ever got involved. We're going
Absolutely.
into our 43rd year.
That's
So,
crazy. That's crazy. No, and I know we talked a little bit about it before, but I have a special connection because, my grandfather with Daryl, and I'm sure a bunch of other people that were involved, but they were definitely part of the founding members and wanted to bring something special to New Orleans.
well, and I mean, that's such a cool connection. And what was really, I think, visionary about your grandfather and Daryl and Dutch Morial is,
Yep.
they were responding to, something, a very specific situation, right? But what they put together, those sort of tenets still remain very true and very relevant 43 years later for our organization,
Absolutely.
even though the landscape has changed. The environment and the economy and the things that our community is facing has changed. But when you think about sort of the three pillars that they set out were to, host high quality events that celebrated our unique local culture. So everything that we do
Right.
focuses around, local musicians, local chefs. We want to preserve and celebrate and continue to showcase that, for people here and all over the world.
Absolutely.
Doing it in a way that drives maximum economic impact, right? So they were smart. They were responding to business
100%,
owners that had a
100%.
rough couple of years with construction.
They knew how to turn money. But do it in a way that felt genuine.
Yeah.
And like you said, like one of the worst things that I think festivals do is they build a good local network and a good local business network where they work with the local community and then they sell.
Mm-hmm.
And then once they sell to an out-of-state group, that out-of-state group doesn't know how to work with the local business.
Sure.
They don't understand the local dynamics. They don't know why the people want to come to this show. And so I feel like it always loses that tail end. So it makes me so happy that most of the original people are still involved.
Absolutely. I mean, we have so many founding members that still participate,
Right.
and are a part of our board. They want to see it continue to grow as, we're an independent nonprofit organization, which is a little different,
Right.
than most festival models.
Absolutely.
So, most festivals now are either for profit. And like you said, at a certain point, you grow. And from a business standpoint, your hope is to exit at some point,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely.
At which case, it becomes less about, what might have been that sort of founding community or music base.
It doesn't hurt that Daryl's a drummer. It doesn't hurt,
I mean, he loves it. He's out there playing on Saturday afternoon at 2 p.m. on the riverfront, 43 years later.
Absolutely. But that's what also makes it so genuine.
Yeah.
One thing that I always tell people, especially in the music side of world, like songwriters or producers, artists, whenever they ask me questions, a lot of what I just divert to is whatever you do, make sure it's genuine. Make sure you don't have to create an acting character to keep the facade moving forward. Because if you can just find a way to be you in that moment, it will continue forever because you never have to change yourself. And Daryl has always been true to who he is. And my grandfather was a lot that same way. And a lot of those old school guys were that way, and I just think that being genuine and doing something for genuine love or genuine thought process will always be the longevity that you can strive for, So it makes me so happy to see it going. It's my favorite time of year. It truthfully is my favorite time of year.
Well, it's definitely a gift to be, a small part of making that happen for the city and a small part of the city's history and culture.
Does the city embrace it? It truly embraces it pretty well, right?
Absolutely. I mean, I will say,
because there's a lot of changes that have happened in 43 years in the city.
Absolutely. I mean, from a participation standpoint, our biggest fan base, we are a very local event, right? So we're going to have nearly 1 million people in the French Quarter over 4 days. And the vast majority of those folks are based in the New Orleans metro area, right? So this is truly, it's a family reunion for sure. But as far as, the city goes, as in City Hall, most people don't know this, but, we are an independent 501c3 nonprofit. But we do operate in a living, working neighborhood. And so it's its own ecosystem.
Correct.
Managing
the VCCs.
Construction projects and businesses that are ongoing and residents and trying to be thoughtful about sort of balancing the needs of everybody. But we are very integrated into lots of city services that have to operate within a neighborhood, and certainly rely on partnerships with the mayor's office and with the city council in order to have permission to
Right.
host the biggest street fair,
Right.
probably in the country. We work very closely with all of the city departments to pull it
Yeah,
off
because
and really rely on them.
I've done a lot of live events in my life, or
Hmm.
outdoor events. I was in the car business for years, so I used to do car events and VIP racing stuff. And actually, I don't know if you remember, but I was a part of the, I think it was 2004. We did the French Quarter Classic with Velobra, Franco Velobra.
Oh,
Yeah, so I was a part of that. But it's not easy to block streets and to do things that maneuver people's living
yep.
around, and I mean, I would almost consider what you guys do to be as large scale as an F1 race.
Yeah.
When they come and block everything off for the racing in the city, it's pretty intense.
There's a lot of logistics involved, for sure, and we're definitely, super grateful for how gracious the businesses and the residents of the French Quarter are in welcoming all of our guests. I think a lot of them, it's become a, celebrated annual
Yeah,
tradition for them
well,
as well.
being a free event, people aren't unwilling to spend money in the businesses that they're walking around.
Absolutely.
I feel like that's also part of the dynamic is like, I don't have to pay money to be a part of it, but walking around, I might see an art piece in a window that I can't live without. You know
Right.
what I mean? And so, like, I think the dynamics of that festival local business relationship is very special,
Yeah.
especially in the French Quarter.
Yeah. Absolutely. And we know that, so many of our friends and neighbors, they report next to Mardi Gras, it's their biggest weekend of the year. So it's become a major driver of revenue and economic impact. So much so that it has a material effect on the city's GDP. So it's
Right.
something that, we feel a responsibility not only to make it a high quality event that people enjoy and just have fun at. Because
Right.
remember, it is a festival.
It is a
You're out
festival.
there to, connect and have a good time.
Absolutely.
But also, we know that it plays a really important role in our annual calendar and in the business that those restaurants and shops and hotels are planning for
Right.
on an annual business. I think that's why, during COVID, I don't know if you were paying attention to our schedule and reschedule calendar, but we never shut down. All eight of us that are full time on the team were so committed to making sure that we didn't skip a year that I think we planned and rescheduled that same event 4 times before we
Uh-huh.
were finally able to
We were
move
able to
forward
move
with
forward.
it.
Yeah. Oh, I know all well about canceling events during COVID. Let's see, January 2021, I dumped more money into live events than I ever have, and I canceled almost every one of them.
Oh man.
Like it was a nightmare, but all concerts and things, but no actual festivals for me. But um, it was a weird time, but doing that, you also probably gave people confidence to come back out by staying together and showing that you're going to move forward and then moving forward.
Yeah, I think it was an important part of reopening the city and doing it in a safe and responsible way and, connecting people again and driving business. I mean, there was a lot of great things that came out of that
I
and
remember the
continue to.
moment I was after COVID when it had kind of opened up again. I remember the moment that I was walking downtown and I heard live music again.
Mm,
And it hit me here because I hadn't heard it in years. And
yeah.
like and so like it's such a part of who we are growing up and in our blood.
Hmm.
So it's amazing to have um festivals like the French Quarter Fest that just showcases and sticks with the independent art side,
Hmm.
and not to go corporate because it ruins everything when you go corporate.
Well, I mean, that is what we're designed to do. So,
Right.
our mission is all about celebrating our local culture, doing it in a way that everybody can participate. So all of the events that we do are, you know, zero admissions, open, low barrier events so that the people who live here can enjoy it and participate. I mean, I think, access to high quality arts and culture and music is so much a part of our quality of life
Right.
and about what makes this such a vibrant place to be, that we really want to set an example with that.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Well, I hate to put you on the spot, but what's your favorite act on French Quarter Fest that you've seen?
Oh my gosh.
Uh-huh.
My favorite act that I've seen. I mean, there's been so many moments.
And
I
Ronnie
don't know.
Lamarck doesn't count. I love Ronnie. I love Ronnie, but that doesn't
Hot Rod
count.
Lincoln.
That's funny.
What I love about French Quarter Festival, I mean, there's definitely been moments on some of the big stages that were, getting to see Aaron Neville or,
Right.
I think Big Frida last time she played, the band was bumping the actual speakers were starting to smoke. but I think what's really special about French Quarter Festival is sort of the quiet or unexpected moments too.
Right.
The fact that you can walk into the songwriter stage in a really intimate setting, or peek in the courtyard of the BK House, which is this historic, beautiful building, and
Right.
see a band that you've never heard of, but is incredible, and
Right.
you get to learn, and be exposed to lots of music that you might not have had the opportunity. So I
Absolutely.
think that's, I would just challenge everybody to get off the beaten path and move around. I think we try to play with the programming on the stages so that, yes, set up your chair and your picnic blanket and have a great time.
But move around.
But move around.
Yeah, move around. Yeah, no, and it's similar to Jazz Fest, and since you can't sit at one stage at Jazz Fest, you got to move around,
Yeah. Yeah.
But no, and it's very, showing off those places is also very historic for the city. It exposes so much culture outside of music, outside of art, outside of, what the festival is about. It's really showcasing, I guess the full culture of the city and the architecture and those little quiet cubbies that tourists find that they can't leave, and that's why they come back. And but it's awesome.
Well, plus if you're coming in from out of town and you get a hotel room in the French Quarter, you get your own VIP suite. You can go take a power nap at noon and head back
and
out.
walk back out.
Right.
Not many festivals you can do that.
No.
In. Well, I guess what would be the future of the French Quarter Fest as you see it? Is there anything new that you guys have in mind that you want to bring to the table?
Well, I think it's always about striking the right balance of, preservation and evolution, right? So part of what we want to do is preserve the magic of the culture, but that doesn't mean always doing everything the same way.
Right.
And I think you can see, we're always thinking about the programming evolving, for example. So, we had a DJ stage for the first time, and that's a huge part of New Orleans culture.
Right.
But for years and years, it was only live music, and we
Right.
didn't, that was something that felt like a departure, but it's been hugely successful. So I think we're, thinking about how the music and the culture is constantly evolving and wanting to stay true to what's going on in the city now. And also I think evolving as a festival, maybe in some of the less sexy behind the scenes ways, but I think we want to be a culturally sustaining event, but also environmentally sustaining, community sustaining.
Right.
So making investments in things like composting and recycling, those are not necessarily cutting edge, but I think for Louisiana and for New Orleans, it's kind of setting the mark and saying, well, if you can do that at scale in a nonprofit event that's very resource constrained,
Right.
there's an opportunity to engage in a conversation about things that are important in the Gulf South. And here we are in the Mississippi River. So being sort of stewards and, thoughtful stewards of that, I think is important. As we move forward, I think, to your point, the most important thing is to sort of keep at that essence. It should still, even if it's a very large event at scale, it should still feel authentic and
Right.
intimate.
Right.
And I think we want everybody who comes down to feel like it is accessible and welcoming, and you're really truly getting to experience the French Quarter Fest, or the French Quarter neighborhood, really.
Right. The whole area. Right.
In a really honest way. We are, of course, always making improvements in terms of the flow and the production quality and safety and security.
Well,
But
I was going to ask you actually about security. Has that changed any since the dynamics of New Year's Eve?
I think we have always been very integrated into city services.
Right.
So, even before all of this, of course, we have a tremendous force of NOPD out there and private security, but we're coordinating with Homeland Security, and we're coordinating with, the National Guard and other additional resources like the Coast Guard and
Right.
whatnot. So there's a lot of proactive coordination and communication that leads up to the festival, so that people can get there and maybe not see it as much, but
Right.
but be safe and protected. Obviously, we have made changes in terms of hardening up
Mm-hmm.
some of our perimeter when it comes to vehicle
Correct.
interaction.
Right.
But if you were out there in April, hopefully it felt like the same festival footprint.
I
And,
didn't.
if you didn't notice it, then our efforts were successful.
You were successful. I didn't notice. I mean, other than maybe, a few more cops per corner, I didn't notice any of it.
Yeah.
But I did notice the Coast Guard, though. I did notice the Coast Guard.
Yeah, we actually we brought in the same consultant that the city worked with to sort of do an audit
Mhm.
of, just being as proactive as we could about any potential vulnerabilities. And, at the end of the day, it's a big event that takes place in a neighborhood. But I think, we've overlaid a lot of measures to keep it safe and family friendly. And I think, honestly, I will attribute our attendees and our community and our fans to
Yeah.
part of the atmosphere
100%.
and the culture that is built around it. People are out there and they're having a good time and they're on their best behavior and
Yep.
they're being kind to each other. And, it's very unusual that we have an incident.
It's a very good aura of
Yeah.
for that festival. Like, it's almost like when you walk in it, you just feel this relief almost. It's different than a lot of festivals where you feel like you walk in and you really don't know the dynamics of the crowd. You don't know the dynamics of things. You walk into French Quarter Festival, you feel open and easygoing, and it's just this great calming aura. That's how I feel anyway.
Yeah.
Um,
It's it's a really beautiful culture that I think has been cultivated for 43 years in
Right.
terms of, the atmosphere and the vibe, for sure.
Absolutely. Well, so could you spill any beans on upcoming artists and acts coming soon?
I wish I could spill the beans, but honestly, we're in the process of going through applications and haven't started booking yet.
Gotcha.
But what I could offer is you've got, an opportunity that nobody else does. Who would you like to see? I think there's always headliners that might be on our radar, but what we love is the up and coming, and we want to hear from you.
So I'll tell you right now, and I don't know if she's performed or not for French Quarter Fest, but one of my favorite local jazz singers is Sarah Quintana.
Awesome.
Um,
She's fantastic.
yes.
She has played, but I don't know if it might have been a couple of years. So
Okay.
I'll have to ask our entertainment committee.
I love Sarah. I went to grade school with her. So, but she's got an amazing voice and she's an awesome person and she teaches young kids how to relearn how to speak at Ochsner when they have speak issues
Oh,
or
wow.
when they come out of surgery or whatever it may be. So she's also a vocal coach for sick kids. So when you put all that together, plus she's an amazing jazz singer.
Speaking of good vibes.
I mean, just an amazing person all the way around. But I would love to see her. Love Rachel Fleetwood. I don't know if you know
Yep,
Rachel.
absolutely. I think she played last year.
She did. Yeah, I
Yeah.
think she sang with Hot Rod
Yep.
Lincoln. Yep. Yeah. But no, there's a lot of local people. But I'm gonna pick Sarah first.
Okay. All right. Well, we got your top pick.
Awesome. That's awesome.
Thanks for your input as our newest entertainment committee member.
Hey, listen, anywhere I can be
Honorary.
to help. Absolutely honorary. You know, I'll take it. I'll take it. French Quarter Fest isn't the only programming you have. Tell us about everything else.
Yeah. So we are a nonprofit organization that works 12 months out of the year. French Quarter Festival takes 12 months out of the year to organize, but we're activating throughout the year. We also have another one of our flagship events is Satchmo SummerFest.
Okay.
So, of course, that event takes place at the New Orleans Jazz Museum in early August. Usually takes place right around the time of when Louis Armstrong was born. But we feel like, we are the city where he was born, where jazz was born. It's kind of incredible that, New York has the Louis Armstrong Museum, but this is our annual tribute
That's funny.
to his life and legacy. And that's a cool event because it has, obviously you can come down and you can see a bunch of traditional jazz. But, he was very prolific. And I think we think pretty broadly about the musical genres that have evolved and been influenced by Louis Armstrong. So
It's countless,
really,
I would say. It's probably
absolutely,
countless,
he was iconic. So that is our summertime event, and we've got 2 outdoor stages. There's actually also an indoor piano series and a lecture series. Lecture series sounds like school. I should say we have scholars and authors and historians that come in from all over the country. They'll bring in, old footage or recordings. And so it's a very cool
That's
way to
awesome.
kind of get insider information. Ricky Riccardi, who is like the, world's leader in terms of research and writing on Louis Armstrong. He is the curator of the Louis Armstrong House in New York, comes down. So that's a really great event. And
Sounds
then
like it needs to be a documentary. Just saying.
it should. If you know of anybody who's involved with content.
I know a few in this room.
I think there could be a there.
That sounds like a documentary to me.
Yeah, I don't know. We always laugh that the behind the scenes production of French Quarter Festival would be a really great reality TV
100%.
series as well.
100%.
But we also host Holidays New Orleans style musical programming. So coming right up next month, we're going to kick off the holiday season, and we have free community concerts at St. Louis Cathedral,
Okay.
which is, it's a really cool tradition. You can come down and have a Réveillon meal in the French Quarter, and seeing this year it's going to be Leroy Jones on December 3rd. And then we're going to close out the holiday season with New Orleans Eve. So we host the city's sort of official public downtown celebration. Again, it's admissions free from 9 to midnight. We've got DJ Captain Charles. We've got Sweet Crude. Alexis is another educator and prolific musician. And then Dumpsta Funk is going to be playing until midnight, right before the fireworks show. So
awesome.
It's a great way. We're actually going to be expanding onto the riverfront.
Okay.
Last year we hosted New Orleans Eve on Decatur in front of the cathedral, and we're moving it on to the Great Lawn right where we usually have the Abita stage for
Right.
French Quarter Festival.
Right.
But
That's gonna be a good spot.
It's going to be beautiful. Bring your, picnic blankets, enjoy some champagne, have fun, and stick around for the fireworks.
That's awesome. Sounds like a great event. You guys really do a great job of just showcasing the culture and keeping people together.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's sort of how we feel like the role or the function of festivals in Southeast Louisiana should be. Like I was saying, commercial festivals are fun. They're big production, but I think festivals serve a different purpose in Louisiana. They're how
Absolutely.
communities come together. It's how we celebrate different elements of our culture and how we, mark the passing of time in our
Absolutely.
seasonal calendars.
Absolutely. The
And so we
crawfish
want to be
boil.
true.
We
Yeah.
want the crawfish boil. That's all we
Exactly.
want.
There's a festival for everything,
Yeah.
from tomatoes to crawfish to mirliton.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I think we try to really embody that for Louisiana culture more broadly and for the French Quarter. And last year was the first year we hosted New Orleans Eve, and most of our festivals end at 8:00. So we were a little bit, how's this going to work out producing in the French Quarter until midnight? And it was really incredible. I felt like the same just warm, friendly atmosphere in terms of what you feel walking through the street at French Quarter Festival or at Satchmo SummerFest. You could sort of feel that same warmth, and it was great. We were all out there watching the fireworks. We had about 5,000 people out on the riverfront, and so we're looking forward to doing it again.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, it's so much better than what we did growing up for the Christmas party, which was Al Copeland's Christmas party. So when I was a kid,
I went to a few of those
I'm sure
as well.
you did. I mean, that was pretty much it. Like that was pretty much what you did. But no, this is a much better way to enjoy the city.
Yeah.
But I have some pretty funny stories about the Al Copeland parties.
I bet you do.
But once again, thank you for being here, and thank you for everything you do for the city. We love French Quarter Fest, and we are a full supporter here at Elation, and hope it brings elation to everybody this year to come out and enjoy French Quarter Fest.
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing you out there at Sarah Quintana's set.
There you go. All right. You heard it here first. You heard it here first. Well, great. So any socials that you would like to show or tell the people?
Yeah, everybody should check out our website. You can learn about our holiday lineup if you go to fqfi.org/holidays. You'll see everything from, the cathedral concerts to New Orleans Eve. And while you're there, you can check out more information about saving the date for French Quarter Festival in Satchmo 2026.
Awesome. Well, thanks for joining us today. And thank you guys for joining us, where we enjoy exhilarating euphoria through creation and collaboration. If you'd like to see more, please like and subscribe.